Apollyon, leader of the Blackstone Legion, queen of war, conflict incarnate, the main antagonist of the For Honor lore slash For Honor story mode, one of the greatest villains Ubisoft has came with, and at the same time, greatest character arguably within the For Honor lore slash universe itself. One of my favorite villains and arguably a top 10 in video games. Like with the case of my Melania video, with the case of putting Melania on trial for her crimes, we're going to be looking and overlooking all the case of different matter of crimes, war crimes, other matter of stuff that Apollyon has did, and seeing if she's reasonable to go ahead and be put on trial or not, evaluating some things, analyzing her character, and again, like I said before, with looking and overlooking some different matter of things that she has done within the For Honor world to see if Apollyon was justified or not and account for what she did. I hope you guys will enjoy. If you are new here, subscribe, like, comment, share, do all that jazz. Even if you don't want to do all that, I hope you at least enjoy a video. With this being said, I love y'all. Let's go and get into it.
Pulled up to a spot, she live by the park, it's getting dark. My clock on my lap, I'm just thinking smart, so she hop out. She switching this shit, this switching shit. She got 2 minutes, if she ain't back out, then she gon' need a lift. She left her phone, so I picked it up. This hoe slow as fuck, now miss calls, 3 of them for mom, the other 6 ain't up. I look up.
Apollyon was born in Nashville, a little girl of us in a village that was eventually raided and ran by a bunch of Vikings. But it wasn't just the fact that the Vikings raided her home entirely that caused her biggest scars. Even though they left a mark on her, that's why people were killed, ransacked of the stuff, raped and pillaged, all different type of shit from the Vikings. But the fact that a lawbringer with a great deal of knights just sat there and watched the entire village get destroyed and did nothing. Apollyon grew into the capability of possibly being a warden that had a lot of different street smarts and capabilities that could put a motherfucker down in the most brutal way, as she had to grow up in the most hardest form of environment of the streets of the parts of Asheville, and became a sly form mercenary with the skills of a warden, and eventually caught up to this lawbringer, killed him in the streets, robbed him of his armor, reforged it into the matter of her warden armor, which is why Apollyon is similar to Lawbringer. Apollyon rose to the ranks to become the leader of the Blackstone Legion and lead a great deal of knights into different forms of war, offer the calling of wolves over the sheep, conquerors over the conquered, the mightiest over the weak. Feeling like this is the fundamental form of growth for humanity. It is the greatest way that our species has evolved. It is the greatest sense of due and strength for all of Heathmoor, aka the land that the knights, Vikings, samurai live on. It wasn't called that into the piece of Wyverndale or a greater deal, but yeah, that's pretty much why she did what she did. There's some greater physiological and different greater case matter means that come with it, but pretty much a great deal of what Apollyon stood for culminated as a staying full truth of all of the For Honor world, and what she was going for came into full swaddle at the Shard, aka at her castle. What is being said changed the whole game for all record of people there, and made a full new counting power of weight, because of the fact that what Apollyon was going for about making people be puppets, culminating in different spark for wolves, and being pretty much a symbolization for why every form of person in For Honor does what they do on a greater thrive for killing or vengeance or record of waking to new heights, is pretty much all made by her. And inspiring Astra, aka Warmonger, the new technical antagonist of the For Honor lore, even though she's kind of just whatever, meh, but still. Besides her philosophy and how she was, she eventually fell into the champion of the samurai, aka the Emperor's champion. But as she died, she claimed that everyone became her wolves. But besides the case of her history as a whole, we're here to obviously talk about if she'd be voting for war crimes or any crimes. She does have crimes, but let's go ahead and acknowledge what a war crime is. A war crime under the Community Conventions and the Metropolitan Police is a war crime visual of violations of laws or the case of a person's rights within a war. This could be also in qualifications of murder, ill treatment of police, slave labor, killing of innocent people, or coming in territory that is not yours. Pretty much doing all different type of things that would be in violation of the rights of the people that you come after, or in the mix of war. These, though, do not just follow as general from war, and I'm gonna basically be basing this on different forms of her warfare and same time case of different fighting dudes. As Apollyon isn't a war criminal just because she's a brutal, mean vato. I'm going to be breaking that down and talking more about that over time. So, go on, strap in, and let's go and get it in. Apollyon is leader of the Blackstone Legion. The reason we have a form of control and or jurisdiction to lead out different matter of war stands in between. But how Asheville works has been kind of simulated and shown within the lore is a vast form kingdom technically. As Asheville before the cataclysm or in pre to post was way larger, and the samurai came and took over the other half of Asheville, aka the Mire. Valkenheim is a piece all the way from Scandinavia / Norway that came over to Heathmore. Asheville has multi-case legions that govern different areas, lead the people, lead the case matter of their militaries, and Apollyon stands as a queen / lord to them, but truly is more of a high-end commander, right? As the Lord Warden or whoever is the highest stand of a person stands as king within Asheville. And really, the Legion stand as a governing point, as Asheville is a monolithic from allegory form stand that stands as a very vast and big kingdom, but doesn't stand in that same feel that others have when it comes down to look or purpose, you know? So, yeah, that's pretty much why and how she's allowed to do what she do through Asheville / in other places. So, when it comes down to what she has done within war and the crimes that can come under a war crime if we compare it to modern day, this type of form of crime placement on her would be very severe still because she's in a more direct militaristic form. But has she committed any? That's the real question. So, when it came down to her fighting against the Vikings, even if you might think her ideals going with it are very OD and out of pocket and deliberately callous, the Vikings did attack her first, and she was going after the same band of Vikings to an extent, and even going after different forms and different factors of these Vikings. It is a campaign by Asheville to go after them, and she explains this in different parts of the lore dump within the campaign, and this is greater expressed across a lot of points within the Knight's lore. So Apollyon going after the Knights, regardless of its being bad or not, for the case of her ideals in the mix, would not necessarily be bad because by the record of her jurisdiction, she has to pass through this place to push on to the Vikings, and people in her way as a commander are reasonable to be killed by considerable historical law with knights and also by others. Now, her killing more than the do of people, that's bad, but the actual war crime that takes place in this, besides the case again, reasonable jurisdiction to take on the Vikings and kill people in her way that are messing with it, is people that have surrendered or people that cannot fight. She kills her own people, and the Lord Warden later on, aka the Warden of the campaign, feels this shit and does not obviously agree with it, as they're killing his own people. He used to be a warrior of the Ironstone Legion, and these are warriors of the Ironstone Legion of the time. So, with this being said, her killing people that cannot fight back or are not of reasonable imprisonment and is more hostages of the point, and people who just don't live to her means of life, as testing them about the means of being wolves or sheep, would count as a war crime. And so killing innocent or people who cannot fight back on some Optimus Prime stuff would be reasonable case of matter of punishment for life being 15 years in prison or a full cuss, okay? But for others, when it comes down to wars or fights that come within the campaign, she would not be any true actual wrong within it, as from all we know within the case of the war against the Vikings, aka at the end with the wolves among sheep, even though taking out their land and doing what they did to Gulmunder was fucked by a lot of people, she did not actually kill any civilians or innocents from what was shown, and so with this being said, this would not fall under those lines indirectly. So Apollyon is good when it comes down to the case of the night story mode. For the Vikings though, she didn't come together anything truly bad for them or do anything bad within the mix, and her providing for them and doing different things would fall in the reasonable line of even dues within a military campaign. But then, when it comes down to the samurai story mode, her charging on to the case of the Myers home, aka the case of the Emperor's home, and killing the royal family and taking away the guidance of the samurai is not also a war crime. It's more the stuff considerably that she did within it. As again, she's a leader of a legion. She has reasonable jurisdiction to move and command, and simply put, who gonna stop her? So her charging on the Meyer and killing the Emperor of the Samurai at this time is not bad, but in the actions of it as killing prisoners that are not under reasonable jurisdiction to be a matter of prisoners of war entirely, and or be the case of people that could not defend themselves and then making them fight to the death in the form of Game of Thrones as way is not necessarily a crime stated or not committed, not to say from the first one but the after effect. But again, killing of people that are innocent as another account is another batch of life considerably, as even though being in charge, killing prisoners of war, regardless of whatever saying instance, is considered to be a war crime unless reasonable due to kill or a top person would decide that. The king, aka the person that holds the whole weight, should decide that. Apollyon just killing whoever she feels like technically is not necessarily bad if in matter of reasonable jurisdiction, but it's more about how she does it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's another batch of life on her head. Okay, and after that, eventually gets killed by the case of the Emperor's Champion, and that's it for her life when it comes down to the far story mode. But different accounts, reasonable theory, and account of the fact that Apollyon has been to multiple different lands besides just within Heathmore, talking to a monk that has been insinuated to be Wai Cheng, aka the Shaolin of the Wulin, and been to different areas to be a very culty lassie, would follow with some different stuff. Mainly only one that could be reasonably proven, aka the case of her going all the way to China, going to the Shaolin Temple, and causing the destruction of Wai Cheng's home, and killing most case matter of innocents and destroying a religious place, which is actually a form of a crime, being the case within America to be something like church arsony, but could also come into the same play as reasonable reason of arsony against any religious property or destruction of something that someone calls dear for religious or spiritual reasons. So destruction of a monastery temple plus 20 years and killing, and getting all of this to a $3 million fine, what is being said. So in conclusion, Apollyon is reasonable due for 2 counts of life when it comes down to her crimes, being 15 plus 15 mixed with 20 years of destruction of a monastery and the killing of one of the innocent people possibly with it. So with this being said, this would in conclusion equal about 50 years in prison, and count with the case of the money that comes with this the life treatment being there not fine, being a $3.5 million fine, what is being said. So yeah, $1 million and 5 cents, crazy ass activity. But yeah, that is it when it comes down to Apollyon's matter of crimes and dues. Tell me if you learned something about this in the comments. But if you had to ask me, as being Judge King, of course, on what type of form of punishment I would do, death penalty, without a doubt. As Apollyon as a character and everything that she stands for has some semblance of truth. She's a mean, out of pocket, inconsiderate, plays God and destruction of people, and she solidifies war just because she's the same scarred little girl that saw everyone she cared about be taken from her and wants to wreak those same activities to make people stronger because it made her stronger. As in the words of a wise man, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So Apollyon for me would get the death penalty. How she would get the death penalty is by a reasonable duel with a person that I have reasonable case and matter of reasoning to kill her, and same time could kill her. This person will be Jin Sakai to Ghost of Tsushima. Legendary battle, if y'all want to see me do a versus battle on that, I will gladly do that. But I believe Jin Sakai slaps. So, yeah. I hope you guys will enjoy. Let me know whatever is a matter of characters I should put on trial. This is just another one. I hope you guys will enjoy. But of different busting content I have in mind. Love you all. Peace out, my army. The amount of brain damage is wild.